Hi guys, it's Naga here today, and I'd like to talk about something important. That would be Crash Bandicoot. The lovely thing you see in the background who's come back after a 20-year hibernation to absolutely roaring fanfare. Vicarious Visions has managed to recreate the original Crash Bandicoot games basically flawlessly. And it plays well, it's fun, and it's frustrating, but it's also fun. It's a faithful recreation, apart from some tweaks to the movement, and unifying the movement between all three games, so all three games handle the same. So this came out, destroyed sales numbers for everything else, and it was at number one quite hard. It topped several other games' combined sales numbers. So obviously Activision saw this and said, well, if that's the case, then guess what? We're gonna give you a new Crash Bandicoot game next year. That is wonderful, and it shows the power of not just nostalgia and platforming games, but Crash as a brand, as a series. That it had the power to move so many units and so many hearts is wonderful. I'm excited for the potential, but also, because it's Activision, I have to be a little bit of a dickbag and rain on everyone's parade and say, yeah, the old ones sold well, the compilation sold well, when Vicarious Visions wasn't maybe being prodded to add fun stuff, like pre-orders and microtransactions and DLC. And I'm not about to diss Vicarious Visions here, they're probably very good people who obviously have the development skills needed to pull this off, right? What I am doing, however, is dissing Activision, because it's Activision. They have multiple times shown us the contempt for the consumer that led them to over-monetize, and I'm being polite here, certain titles that people would have liked to enjoy without the various kinds and forms of abuse inherent in video games today. What I'm saying is, when it came out, Crash Bandicoot was a technological marvel, and this is not an exaggeration. So many tricks were used to compress the game just enough to fit into the PlayStation 1 CD size that it is mind-boggling. There were literal bytes of data left over. That's how full they packed the disc. And it was, it was brave and innovative, and it proved at the time that you don't have to make everything be as pixel perfect as possible, because you could animate differently, because you can stylize your character to be more cartoony and therefore convey a different set of emotions. Well, Crash Bandicoot has the chance to become a legend once again, because, and this new game is happening because of the sales numbers, when it comes out, either we're going to see an honest attempt at a Crash Bandicoot game, or we're going to see an honest attempt at a Crash Bandicoot game shoved to the brim with microtransactions or other dickery that we do not need or want, or indeed this 20-year-old franchise doesn't need. That is not one of the modernizations that should hit this franchise, okay? So, I can't obviously want a company who could buy my life several times over with pocket money, as depressing as that is. But definitely, if they do go the way of greed, as they have done so countless times, then not only will they ruin a very long-standing, very beloved franchise, they have the potential to do what EA did to Mass Effect, to push upon the creators things they didn't want to do. That some of that includes tight deadlines that, obviously, we know what happened to Mass Effect Andromeda. But if it pushes itself on the creators and the product is bad, it will not potentially blame the creators, but it will definitely stop giving a shit. As the license holder, they are not going to, they're not just going to say, this wasn't worth our time and money because it didn't sell because we're stupid, so it's dead. Okay? And I don't want that, because Crash Bandicoot was one of the first platformers I've ever played on the PlayStation 1. I have played previous ones that were in 3D, but Crash Bandicoot, I can't remember, but it might honestly actually be the first one, period. And it was a tough-as-nails mess. I mean, for an 8-year-old, it was hell, but it was heavenly hell. I had fun with it. basically the considerations here are keep an eye on Activision. That's not a company you can trust. And honestly, if they can pull off their magic, if they can keep their greedy little hands to themselves, and especially if what they do is assign vicarious visions to the project again, so they can do a full project from the ground up, from scrap, I have all the confidence in the world that we are going to see the resurgence of this orange monstrosity here, Bandicoot. We need this, and I missed a box. I'm tremendously unhappy about that, but we need to break the stalemate that video games have thrust upon us by way of the industry. We don't want the bullshit, we don't want the exploitation, we don't want on the tacked on garbage. What we want is for our games to work and be fun. If on top of that, Crash Bandicoot can manage to sell well, and prove to everyone that it doesn't have to be battle royales and forced multiplayer and shooting garbage everywhere, it will speak harshly in favor of platform games still being viable in this day and age. Much like how Resident Evil suddenly reminded the world that, hey, Capcom used to do good survival horror shit, right? That's basically what I wanted to say. Activision, don't fuck this up. Everyone else, if Activision fucks it up, make sure you let them know, because this is too important. This is a game that has a chance to be legendary twice. Have a good one.